This is a Founding Media podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Founding Austin's Up and Comers, another episode today here during South by Southwest here in Austin, Texas. Excuse me. Nice heels, by the way. I'm Heather Wagner-Reed, and I'm your host today, and we are at the Long Center chatting with some amazing startups that are actually launching out of Austin, Texas. I am so thrilled to be able to talk to these two amazing women today, Lana Carlson and Leslie Gossett, who are kind of doing something extraordinary in the Texas art community. They have a brand new concept that they've launched called House of L. They've done a number of activations now here in Austin during South by, this year being the biggest one yet. And I just want to welcome you to the show. I want to hear all about this great company that you're launching. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
We're excited to be here.
So Lana and Leslie, I guess we can start with just, letting our listeners and viewers know, what is House of L? Who wants to start?
Leslie start.
So I think House of L is a passion project of Lana and I sort of combining our worlds and our histories to create this new concept that we feel is going to disrupt the way people buy and experience art.
Wow. Okay. So that's a good word. I love the word disrupt. We use that a lot on this show because there's quite a lot of companies that are doing some game-changing things. So how are you guys disrupting? What's different about House of L?
So the idea behind House of L is to create these sort of pop-up art experiential experiences in listings, specifically Sotheby's listings around the country.
Okay.
And so through our research, there's a trend moving towards people buying art at fairs, and not necessarily galleries. The gallerists are waiting for people to come in and praying that people come in. We're putting together and curating these special events for artists and collectors all over the country. It is just a fun way for people to buy and experience art.
So Sotheby's, your background is with Sotheby's.
That's right.
And Lana, your background is curating.
Art.
And we're going to talk a little bit about both of your bios and how you got here today. I guess I'll just ask Lana, so with House of L and launching this out of Austin, I mean, your events and the art that you're bringing to the city is like nothing else. It's just extraordinary. Maybe can you talk a little bit about the type of artists you're bringing to Austin and the kind of work you're showing?
For sure. We work mostly with emerging contemporary artists, also established as well. We present some of the modern and blue chip art. And basically what we're trying to combine and mix all sorts of art and putting together a piece by Andy Warhol together with an emerging artist from Austin, for example, or Tyler Green, etc. So we're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for the viewer and less the stale, right? So it is a little bit more inviting for the viewer to see our exhibit and not to be afraid of seeing $100,000 piece of art and not to get in practically on the top of that, we're trying to bring immersive and interactive experience, such as installations and performance art. So we're supporting that type of art as well, right? So it is pretty much an experience rather than an exhibition. It's much more complex than just an exhibit. So contemporary art mostly, and we work with all media. We have paintings and sculptures and installations, etc., etc. So there's something for everyone. Let's go that way.
I think kind of what Lana said, expanding on that a little bit, is I think traditionally galleries can be sort of intimidating, especially for a new collector. And so we do want to create a very authentic and relaxing environment to, inspire new collectors. So at our South by show, we had, price points of a couple $100s all the way up to over $100,000. And having that mix is important to us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I went to the show this weekend, and obviously, walking into a room where a Basquiat and a Warhol were there with a number of local artists was pretty incredible, because normally you'd have to go to a museum to see that type of work. So I'm intrigued by how you get the works here. Lana, I know you source them from around the world, and you have so many connections, and you yourself are from Russia originally.
Well, maybe we'll touch on that. Yes, it's been a long way for me to establish those relationships with many artists around the world and dealers and galleries. I've been in this business for over 10 years now, and I started working in Paris at the gallery, and then I started working and putting together my own events, my own exhibitions, and they grew from small exhibitions with emerging artists. I got to the project where I started working with state museums, and after that, I realized that it is probably everything is possible at this point, and I can pretty much build any project that I'm thinking of, and I wanted to do something bigger, and when I received this opportunity to build the first art fair in Austin, I obviously said yes, and it was pretty successful, and we ran it for 5 years before we started House of L. So these are, we're bringing art from all over, started from China, Russia, Europe, up to South America, etc., etc. So those are long-term relationships with artists that I've been working, and artists are continue working with us, and they love us, and we adore our artists as well, and we're trying to build this very special collective where we give artists the platform when they can collaborate, when they can meet each other at the event. And this time for South by we had 12 artists flying in, plus we had almost 10 local artists, so it was an incredible environment where artists already texted me and asking me for contact information of the other artists. They wanted a collaboration, so it's very interactive and very creative environment. This is what we're trying to bring in by creating those events.
I think too, it's Austin has kind of struggled with their art scene. We have a very rich music scene and a kind of a booming film scene. And I think that's why the city and the mayor have really been behind us to support what we're trying to do for the sort of the art scene in Austin. And I think that our emerging artists are very excited about the fact that we're going to be in other markets nationally, because it gives them that exposure that they wouldn't necessarily have had. So
that's I think where the platform is so unique, is that it's almost like this collaboration you have with the Sotheby's partnership, these specifically to those markets, I guess beautiful homes or beautiful spaces that you're going to be doing the events in. What an opportunity. That's great.
And it's an opportunity for us to cover every aspect of this industry, because Leslie, she's in real estate and staging, and I'm on the other side of it, which is pure art. So between the two of us, we cover all. We cover selling art, staging the houses, decoration, etc., etc. So I feel like it's a pretty natural for us to try to cover this all and kind of have this umbrella as our company to cover every aspect of it. So selling the house, selling the art, organizing events for artists, and make it immersive experience for our collectors.
I think the word immersive has been key, because it is when you walk through the door, it's like you're taken to another place. So the event you did during South by was
how we wanted to feel.
Yes, I mean, it's so unbelievable for the senses to walk into your spaces. And all three events, because you've done 3 now in Austin with House of L, right? So last South by.
In November.
We did one in November, which was a launch, and then this South by. And this last one was at the Pershing, and you had a beautiful, exquisite dinner for 40, which was your VIP collector dinner, and then open all weekend for South by badge holders. And so you were an official South by event.
Correct.
And the mayor made an appearance.
Yes.
And I'm sure he had some great things to say, but this is so wonderful for Austin to have you doing this. And so tell us more about just, I guess, what it is like to launch out of a city like Austin.
Well, I feel like if you let me, I feel like it's an incredible opportunity for Austin, as Mayor Adler said, but it's also an incredible opportunity for us.
Right.
Austin's art scene is growing, and there's a lot of changes happening in the last few years that we've been here. But as well as us, we're growing together with Austin, and it's time for the opportunities and time for us to be on the front of it. So I feel like Austin is helping us, we're helping Austin. This is the way I'm perceiving that, and obviously a lot of artists are excited to work with us, and we are excited to discover new Austin stars, let's say new Austin talents, and we're discovering that every year more and more. So it's the art scene in Austin is changing. So is us.
Yeah.
I think, something poignant that Mayor Adler said at our event was that Austin has always been a city that has created art, and if we're not careful to protect that and support our artists, we're going to turn into a city that just consumes art. So we really want to, provide a platform for our artists to thrive and to have opportunities, whether it's, creating a mural in the city, just have various outlets to thrive.
Right. Right. So I'm curious about the Sotheby's relationship too. So tell us more about your background in real estate and also how this idea came together. Because this is, first of all, House of L, if you don't know, is Lana and Leslie. They're both L names. Such a good name. I love it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how, your background and then how you both came together?
Sure. So I've been in residential real estate for 11 years and started a staging company a few years ago as a way to just supplement my listings and make sure that they're always presented in the best light. And when I started that, I wanted to focus on sort of luxury furniture and was very particular about the art that I wanted in my inventory. So I started working with Lana on purchasing art and having her help me curate kind of my inventory for my staging business. And then I also started helping her with sales at the events and have always had a passion for art. My grandmother was an incredible artist. And have been a collector to some degree, but it was at the South by event last year that we threw at the top of the 555, a penthouse residence that, in a matter of 4 hours, I think you were there. We had over 300 people that came. They didn't want to leave, right. And I just sort of had this idea. I mean, agents are always looking for a way to get people through the door. And I just sort of had this idea, oh my gosh, I've got access to this amazing network with Sotheby's. What if we did these events and kind of knowing the backstory, having worked with Pop and the struggles that, we have just here locally that the artists have, and getting their works. I thought, why not take, be a traveling gallery? Galleries are kind of, rapidly declining, and the trend is moving towards these fairs around the world. But why not take a Sotheby's listing in a city like Miami, where the art scene is a little more established, or Los Angeles or Aspen,
right.
and have exposure for our artists? And it's just sort of a win-win for everybody. I think it allows the agent to have a very unique opportunity to present their listing and showcase their listing. It provides exposure to the artists. Everybody sort of wins. And
right.
So the idea was well received by my broker here, who owns the San Antonio and Austin offices. And we've met with some of the brokers all over the country, and it's been very well received. So we've got, I think, 9 more events
for this year. We're getting very, very busy at this point.
Oh my gosh, I bet the demand is going to be there now.
The demand, and what's interesting, you never know what's going to come up from launching during, a place like South by, because we've had everybody from, someone at the Santa Monica Pier that said, hey, would you all want to do a pop-up experience at the Santa Monica Pier?
Wow.
Or Nike saying, hey, would you want to do, some kind of experience?
Performance, installation,
right. So
event, et cetera, et cetera.
That's kind of the doors that it has opened, is that we can be available for brands outside of Sotheby's that want to maybe showcase their brand or their product in a beautiful, different,
creative and artistic way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Goodness. Okay, so you guys have a lot of events coming up in 2019, and I know 2020. So what are the markets that are of most, where are you focusing next, market-wise?
Well, we've been hired to do 6 events in Central Texas. So I think our next event is going to be at like a $13 million home in San Antonio. And we've got another one coming up in June at a $20 million home in Austin. But I think we're really excited about taking this on the road and going to Dallas, Los Angeles, and then ending in Miami during Basel.
Right. How about international? Any international aspirations?
Yeah, that is definitely a possibility.
Sure.
I think we want to give ourselves a little bit of time and establish and just make sure that our team is on point and that everything always ran smoothly, so we can take it on even further on the road. We definitely have an opportunity to work with Sotheby's Moscow, Sotheby's Hong Kong, and Sotheby's Mexico. So, yeah. It is in our plans. We give ourselves a few years until we're established, until we can go farther and farther.
Wonderful. I do want to mention Lana was the curator for Pop Austin International Art Show, and when you were doing that, I actually can say that I started collecting some local Austin artists because of that show. So. Jason Archer, I have 2 of his pieces. Bob Schneider, I have like 4, and it really got me interested in those artists. And it's just wonderful because you know that they're going to benefit, because you've been working with them for so long. Artists like that will benefit from these other markets now that with House of L and this concept.
Absolutely. And we're investing our time and energy in them, so we will benefit from it as well. It's a mutual, it's a win-win situation, and I obviously always rely on my art and my eye and my knowledge of art to work with some of the other artists, and this is how I select my artists, etc., etc. So I think we all benefit from it, and hopefully we're going to grow our collective. Right now we have a little bit under 30 artists already, and we're trying to grow slowly this time, because with Pop it was overwhelming, and we were working with hundreds of artists every year, and this time I want to have a little bit different approach. It's more relationship with artists, knowing every piece of art, and knowing what artist is working on right now, etc., etc. So to pay a little bit more attention to each and one of it. So but we're excited to grow slowly but surely, and have this beautiful collective of artists that are always in our inventory,
Right.
And they're there, and I think that's another, I think 75% of our artists were there, and that's kind of an important piece to the whole puzzle, because I think the collector and the emerging collector loves to meet the artist, and the artist loves to meet the collector, and hearing their stories really is special for everybody.
Yeah,
I think this is what makes the sale usually, when a collector meets the artist and they know what's behind the piece and the idea and the story behind it.
Yeah.
Leslie, absolutely right. And we want to give that platform. We always invite our artists to participate at the show. They help us. They help us essentially to get out the story and tell the story and make a sale eventually.
Well, it seems like for people who are trying to dip their toe into the collecting world, that House of L is like a perfect place to start. What kind of advice do you have for, I guess, younger people that are interested in collecting, or even people who may not be young but want to start their own collection and want to know more? What advice do you have?
My personal opinion as a curator, and Leslie will tell her opinion, it is to start with education, and educate yourself, see more art shows like that, like us, trade shows, the fair, and just starting just start practicing your eye and kind of see what's going on. Education is the first step for sure to find out what's happening in the art world.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just exposure, getting out, and, art will speak to you, and what speaks to you might be very different than what speaks to me. And people buy and collect for different reasons. But I think just getting out and experiencing and exposing yourself to the art that's available around you.
Yeah. What about people who have a problem, like art buying? Like, I have a problem. I buy too much art, so I don't have enough wall space for my art. I have a lot in my garage right now.
Me too.
Do you suggest rotating it or loaning it out? I don't even.
I have definitely way too much art. I have no room for art. It is definitely like a beautiful addiction, I would call it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's something very fulfilling and very inspiring to have art at home. Leslie has a lot of art at her home, and I'm sure we feel quite the same when you wake up and see all those bright colors. It makes your day different. And
yes,
I know for a fact this is what we're trying to express, and this is what we're trying to bring to other people, so they understand that your day-to-day life and routine life could be much brighter and much more inspiring if you have art. So rotating is good. You can always exchange pieces with your friends, I guess.
True that. Yes.
And sometimes I give art away even when it's too much. So I feel like it's never too much about art. You can always
too
sell,
much.
put it on eBay.
Donate your collections to someone or something.
Your collection.
So I know also you have other services besides just these incredible events and activations. So tell us more about the other services that House of L is offering.
Probably the most important is a service that we're creating right now, and we're working for the next 18 to 20 months, is creating an online platform. And it's going to be already third platform that I'm working on. So we will be selling online, and essentially our events will be a engine to bring people to our online platform, right? And which is going to be very convenient for artists. They all want to sell online. They all want to be present online, for sure. They want to have this global exposure, what essentially does the platform. Then we do have commercial and private curation. So we can always consult people who are interested in buying art. We can curate the house. We can curate the hotels and offices, etc., etc. Maybe I'm forgetting something. What else do we do?
I think that's essentially at the private curation, the commercial curation. I think there've been some talks about collaborating on like merchandise and kind of exposing our artists through different mediums.
Right.
So that's another kind of fun thing we're looking at in the future.
Maybe even fashion. We're considering that. Obviously, we're taking one opportunity at a time. We don't want to spread ourselves very thin. Now we're focused on our events and building that collective of emerging collectors and emerging artists together.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing I hope our listeners can understand is that you guys are available to be hired anywhere around the world or around the country. So hopefully people listening today will, if they're interested in a brand out there that needs a great art activation, will call you up. House of L here in Austin, Texas, but definitely international in scope. And
we are very brand oriented, and we always try to understand what brands want, especially brands who are open to creative and artistic activations like that. And some of our artists who we had, for example, in 2015 at Pop, we had incredible artist Jungmon Choi that I was thrilled to have. Now she's doing some incredible activations with Samsung in Korea, etc. So we're trying to bring activations that brand needs.
The sky is the limit, really. I mean, we did what we could for our South by event, but depending on the brand, I mean, we have access to some pretty incredible installations. So.
Wow. Well, and the detail that goes into these events, I'm holding here a program that's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just the visuals and the art. I mean, definitely go to the website, houseofl.com.
houseofl.art.
Getting so creative these days. So houseofl.art, and check out some of the work and just the aesthetic that you have, which is uniquely your own. And I just see such big things for you. So
thank you. And I'll mention our website hasn't officially gone live. So I think the best place to stay in touch is our Instagram.
Yeah.
So our social media.
Yeah. _ the House of L.
Okay.
Underscore.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, great. Thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you for
coming on.
having us.
Wonderful story. And
Thank you.
can't wait to see where you go from here.
Thank
It's
you.
gonna be
Us
big.
too.
All right. Thank you, Lana and Leslie. Oh, and thank you for tuning in to Up and Comers. I just want to say thank you to Richard's Rainwater, to our delicious energy drink here, Brain Juice, and to the Long Center for hosting us today during South by Southwest. Thanks for tuning in.